Hello, and thank you for joining us today for our webinar with Adplorer, Why Brands Are Making the Jump from National to Multi-Local Marketing. My name is Lizzie, and I'm a Senior Account Manager for Locology, and I will be your host for today's event. A few housekeeping items before we begin. This webinar is being recorded and will be circulated to all attendees with the presentation within 24 hours of the broadcast. Questions will be answered during the Q&A session at the end. You can, however, ask questions at any time during the broadcast by using the question window in your control panel. Our speaker today is Ryan Sackable from Adplorer. Ryan is heading Adplorer in North America from their office in Atlanta. He joined Adplorer in 2017 and was quickly promoted from customer success to project manager, head of business development, and now has taken over from Constantine as CEO of Adplorer Marketing Solutions USA in May of 2020. Without further ado, I will go ahead and pass it over to Ryan to get us started.
All right. Hi, everybody, and thank you again for joining the webinar today. Before we get started, I just want to thank you, Lizzie, and your team from Locology, just putting all this together, and hope you all learn a thing or two about how we approach local marketing at Adplorer. So if there are any questions, you guys can chat them throughout the presentation, or you can also send me any questions after the presentation. I'll link my email at the very end if you want to connect. So let's go ahead and get started here. Just want to give a little bit of a background on who I am, and I'll give an intro into Adplorer as well here in a minute. But for those of you that don't know me, my name is Ryan Stackable. I'm the CEO of Adplorer US here in the States. We also have a couple of additional Adplorer teams and offices over in Germany, France, Poland, Sweden, and if you work with us, you'll most likely be meeting those people too, as we oftentimes will collaborate on projects together and work together with different brands. I'm usually on the phone with at least somebody from Europe. It seems like every day, working with them on their projects and them helping us out on our projects. So I've got a few pictures here, just for you guys getting to know me a little bit here. I've got a picture of my wife, Katie, and our dog, Cusco. On a typical weekend, you can probably find us outside near the Chattahoochee River or playing a game of disc golf. Actually, the picture here at the bottom, you can see how much Cusco, our dog, loves to play disc golf. That disc that you see there used to have a middle section and used to fly a lot better before he decided it was his. And so lastly, if you want to connect sometime over a drink, maybe at the upcoming Locology conference in California this September, I'll be able to tell you about our little 4th of July fishing trip where we just barely escaped a huge storm in the Gulf and ended up catching some good fish. All right, so to move on to Adplorer here and a little bit about who we are. At our core, we are a technology company. We actually started in Germany in 2009 and have since expanded into France, Poland, US, Sweden, and now we're actually kicking things off in the UK as well with an agency partner out there. So we actually have a marketing platform that allows brands and agencies to manage and optimize all their local marketing efforts in a single system, which gives them that advantage of scaling and executing a ton of campaigns with ease. So to give a brief example, one of our agency partners that uses our system, they're actually managing local search ads campaigns for a brand that has about 512 or so dealers across the country. And they're doing all that within the Adplorer system, and they're actually managing all that with just one single campaign manager. So that's just a little bit about who we are. You can also see here we're Google marketing partners, Facebook partners, Bing partners, and we're also involved with some organizations like the IFA and also Locology. So let's get into today's topic, why brands are making the jump from national to multi-local marketing. So the short answer here is that if you're a brand and you can develop a strategy to increase sales in each and every store across the board, overall, you're going to have a stronger national and local presence, and you're going to be able to see year-over-year increases in same-store sales. That's the overall goal of what we're trying to achieve here, but As you'll see here at the beginning of the presentation, most brands know that local marketing for their stores and for their franchisees is a must, but to really understand kind of the landscape, it's easiest to start off with some of the common problems or challenges that marketers face when trying to actually manage these campaigns. So if you're a big national chain or a big franchise, usually you've got a solid national marketing strategy, but when it comes to an individual local strategy to drive individual sales to a specific store, oftentimes those stores are just kind of left on their own to figure things out. There's actually a 2020 study by Forrester where they surveyed a bunch of multi-location brands, and of the brands that they surveyed, 61%, which is about 150 or so brands, said that local marketing was a largely untapped opportunity. 77% complained that actually executing that would be very challenging. Half of them said that they would rate their marketing efforts as average or below average. And then you'll actually see this last point here, 61% of those respondents said that improving local marketing effectiveness is a high priority for next year. So I want to highlight that next year piece. You know, we all want to go to the gym next year or start that diet next year, but most brands are knowing that it's a big thing they need to focus on. They just don't know how to do it. So let's get into a little bit of the why. Why don't brands focus on local marketing? First off, a lot of times it's because there's not enough resources internally or externally to scale those marketing programs across hundreds or even thousands of stores and locations. Sometimes there's a problem where the different departments are siloed, and so you might have your marketing team not talking to your design team, not talking to your finance team, and there's just a lack of communication between the internal teams there. Sometimes there's even a lack of interaction between the in-house marketing teams and external agencies that are actually managing the different channels or campaigns. Sometimes there's a gap in strategy. Actually, from that Forrester report, a third of those people reported that they didn't have any local paid social media strategy at all. So sometimes it's a lack of even just having specialized software tools. You're going to need, and we're going to get into this later, but you're going to need some type of distinct software solution to integrate all of your campaigns together for a global or holistic view of performance. And lastly, sometimes there's just not the ability to respond quickly to local markets or engage customers at a local level. And so if you're trying to manage this all at the top level, you're just not going to have the capacity to do that. Now, let's get into some of the different ways that marketers are trying to manage local campaigns right now. In some cases, you'll see here in the top left, some people have no strategy at all. Brands are just relying solely on national strategies to drive sales at the local store level, and they're really just leaving the stores with no assistance at all. Sometimes you can see here on the bottom left, brands will use a centralized strategy. This is a top-down model where everything's done at the corporate level, but this oftentimes has compromised the ability to respond to local tastes or local interests or local trends and respond to those things in a timely way. Sometimes brands will use a decentralized strategy. That's the one on the top right here. And that's where the brand would delegate the marketing strategy and execution to the local stores or franchisees. And while it gives the ability for agility and local responsiveness, it also can generate inconsistencies or lack of alignment between the local stores and the overall brand initiatives. And on the bottom right here, you'll actually see is the hybrid strategy. This is one where it requires coordination between the corporate teams and the local managers or marketers at the regional or store levels. This is actually one of the more common approaches, and it's the approach that we would personally recommend here. But this approach does require some type of tools for governing and managing and maintaining those campaigns and managing those tensions between local and national control. So let's get into a couple more challenges of local store marketing before we get into the solutions. So bid optimization, that is one big question mark here for a lot of marketers. The idea of bid optimization is you can optimize your cost per clicks or your cost per impressions at the lowest level that you have patience for. So the lower you go in terms of that campaign hierarchy, the more complex it gets. Just to give an example here, think about if Home Depot had an individual Google Search Ads account for every individual store. And within that account, they were able to manage the bids locally for power drills and lawnmowers and grills all separately so that they can have the best possible local competitive bids. If a campaign manager behind the scenes was trying to set up and manage all that on their own, they're probably going to get great performance for the stores that they can focus on, but they're going to need a lot of time and patience if they want to manage all the stores and manage all the bids manually. Another problem with local marketing for multi-location brands is budget allocation between the stores. Oftentimes, if the budget is distributed unevenly, it causes tension if the spend goes to, say, higher population areas or areas with higher search volume, and you might just leave some stores out in the cold. Think about if you had a regional campaign targeting the entire Southeast. Let's say if the Atlanta metro area simply just has more population and more search volume for your keywords, then that market's going to eat up all the budget from the other stores. And so Atlanta is going to maybe even take away some of the budget that maybe a smaller store out in maybe a more rural area has put into these campaigns. Additionally, if you go fully local, you have what we call the data scarcity problem. What we mean by this is when you start breaking down ad groups, ads, keywords, etc., down to the per store level, you start actually dividing up the total amount of clicks across campaigns. So if you don't have a way to group that data back together, it can actually make optimizing a local store campaign very difficult, because instead of having 1,000 clicks for your Home Depot lawnmowers ad group, now you might only have 10 or 20 clicks in that ad group for a given period of time. So if you don't have, again, if you don't have a way to re-aggregate and pool all that data together, this could actually potentially hurt performance if you're trying to go to the local store level. And lastly, if you go fully local, tracking spending and tracking reporting can get pretty complicated if you aren't doing it correctly. You need to make sure that all your stores are reporting on the same metrics, and that if some stores are not even submitting accurate spending or reporting data, that you have some way to standardize that so that data gets back to the home office correctly. So how would we recommend, and what would we recommend for your approach to multi-location local marketing? First off, we'd recommend using that hybrid approach that we talked about earlier, and giving each individual store their own marketing strategy, campaigns, budgets, but letting that corporate team maintain overall brand control and setting the boundary lines on what can be advertised, how it can be advertised, and also where they can advertise. Each local market is different, and if you're able to account for the market subtleties and how people search or think, identify different market demands for different products or services, and even address maybe regulatory considerations, you'll be able to give the local stores the best possible chance to drive new sales. Different products just simply sell better in different areas. So for example, if you're maybe a Dick's Sporting Goods, kayaks may sell well in Sarasota, Florida, but they're not going to sell particularly well in Reno, Nevada. So in the end, our recommendations and our goals are focused on increasing same store sales. That's oftentimes the primary metric that we're looking at. And that can really only be achieved by optimizing for those local tastes, optimizing your bids at the lowest possible local level for the best performance. And just remembering too that the goal of an effective marketing campaign isn't maximum exposure, it's maximum profit and revenue. So I've hinted at it a little bit already, but in order to attack this hybrid approach and use this hybrid approach, you're going to need a solid technology solution to make it all happen. First off, you're going to want to use a platform or a software that has collective intelligence bid management to solve that scarce data problem. Again, if you have tons of ad groups and keywords and different ad copy split across hundreds or thousands of campaigns, if you can't pull all that back together, it's going to make optimizing those local campaigns much, much harder. You also need to be able to set brand standards and geo restrictions per store within that software so that the stores can easily turn on and off marketing campaigns without worrying about if their ads are brand approved or not, and also give them the geo restrictions to make sure that they're not overlapping territories with another store and competing with other stores by accident. All of your stores also need fully transparent ROI reporting. The primary and the best way that we like to do this is with linking up to a POS or a CRM system to get that accurate sales data. We'll talk a little bit more about this in a little bit, but having that ROI reporting and getting it as accurate as possible is going to be crucial for actually understanding if your local marketing is working or not. You'll also need to be able to quickly and easily apply optimizations from those top performers down to the bottom performing stores. So going back to that ROI reporting, if you have great ROI reporting, you'll be able to easily identify who those top and bottom performers are, figure out what's working in those top markets, and apply changes quickly and effectively down to the bottom performers. And lastly, you really need to make sure that your local stores are bought in and participating in their local marketing. At the end of the day, they're going to know their area better than somebody at the home office or inside of a corporate building 1,000 miles away is going to know. And so if you can give the local stores the ability to influence their marketing within a controlled environment, they're going to have the best possible performance. They're going to know what ads they should be showing, what areas they want to focus on, and how much they think they need to spend in those different markets. So to transition here, a lot of times we hear as marketers that dealing with co-ops or regional groups or national ad funds can be a huge pain. It usually takes months to get anything up and running. There's a ton of paperwork involved, and usually the results don't get distributed evenly across all the stores involved. And while this can be a huge headache and a huge pain in the ass for a lot of different marketers and a lot of different organizations, here at Adplorer, we actually welcome working with co-ops and national ad funds alike. Because if you have a solid local marketing platform behind you to manage all of your campaigns, you can easily define the boundaries of the agreement within that specialized software, get fully transparent reporting on geos and budget allocation per store, launch campaigns in bulk and apply updates in bulk, and roll up that performance per store into regional reports or into co-op level reports. So don't think that running campaigns for co-ops has to be difficult. You just need the right tools to make it happen. Now, one of the biggest questions that we get probably on an almost daily basis here is how much should we spend, or how much should a local store spend on their marketing? We know that when it comes to local marketing budgets, these can oftentimes be smaller, more limited monthly budgets that don't have a ton of room for waste. So even if the budget is $200 or $500 or $1,000 a month, we can come up with an answer for you. But before we get to that answer, you'll have to know that unfortunately a smaller budget does come with a few limitations, meaning you won't be able to do everything that's out there. So with this in mind, it's even more important to pick and choose the best places to invest those dollars and get the best return on your local marketing. Now, you'll actually see here on the right-hand side, I've got what looks like a marketing funnel, but you'll notice it's actually flipped upside down. So this is something we've written a whole blog post about on our website. You can go check it out. It's called the Flipped Marketing Funnel. And really our approach to local marketing budgets is to start at the top of the funnel and work your way down the list to hit each individual part as you are maximizing your efforts for driving sales, driving leads, and then building your brand. So the idea here is that you're not going to be able to necessarily hit every piece of this funnel, but if you can work your way through hitting the top part here, this purchase and evaluation part, and work your way down, you're going to know where you should be spending your money. So let's just give an example here. If we are, say, running a campaign for, let's just use the Home Depot again, a local store, you want to make sure that you're capturing somewhere between 70 and 85% of the local market share, or the searches, or the people interested in actually purchasing the products and the items that you have in store. And once you've reached the people that are actively, intently searching for your products that you offer, then you can move up to driving more consideration and building that intent to purchase with maybe some social ads, maybe ads on Facebook, things like that. Once you've hit 85% of that market, then move up to building your brand. So that's driving overall interest, and then also letting people know that you're around the corner and that your store exists, that you maybe just had a grand opening, and building that awareness there. The awareness campaigns, those are most often going to be handled by the national brand or the home office. So a lot of times we will tell local stores to instead focus on those bottom of the funnel pieces, and driving leads and driving conversions from people that actually have the intent to buy at that point. So if you have any questions on this, please let us know. I'd love to talk through this a little bit more with you guys. Again, there's a whole blog article on our website about this concept, but this is generally the advice that we would give individual stores. All right, so moving forward here, we've touched on this topic already, but to reiterate, you will want to make sure that each store is comparing the same metrics and performing and measuring their performance in the same way in order to track spending and ROI. If one store is measuring how many phone calls they get, and another store is measuring how many new CRM leads they have, and another store is measuring the actual amount of sales that they got, when you try and roll that up, if those different conversions or those different KPIs aren't lining up, you're going to have a hard time truly identifying who the top and bottom performers are, and whether or not a campaign is actually performing well and driving some new store sales. So the best answer here is to integrate your marketing campaigns with a central CRM that everybody's using, or a central POS system that everybody's using, and use this data to get an accurate picture of your per store ROI. Once you have this in place, you can easily create roll-up reports by region or by co-op, or get a brand-wide roll-up report for the headquarters team. In the end, data consistency and integrating standards will help you tell if your local marketing is working for your stores. So in review, let's hit some of the high points of what we've discussed so far. Multi-location brands, we would recommend that they have a per store marketing strategy so that they can measure their marketing and drive increases in same store sales. Again, that's the primary thing that we're always measuring with the campaigns that we have linked up to our system. And in order to actually effectively execute on this, you're going to need some kind of specialized software like Adplorer to build out and manage that local marketing infrastructure needed for this per store strategy, for this hybrid strategy. You're also going to need that collective intelligence bid optimization to solve that data scarcity problem. And if you don't have one, you might actually find that rolling out a per store strategy might actually hurt you more than help you if you don't have enough aggregate data to use for your optimizations. You want to also make sure that you can be agile and you can optimize your campaigns to capitalize on those local trends. Don't just set it and forget it at the corporate level. Let your franchisees and your store owners have a hand in crafting their marketing campaigns and crafting the ad groups and the ads that they want to use for their local markets, because they're going to know their area best. Just make sure that you have a tool that gives them the appropriate boundary lines so that they can't make a mistake by accident, and they've got those guidelines that they can play within. And lastly, can't emphasize this enough, track ROI per store. If you are reporting on your ROI accurately, as digital marketers, you're going to know that if your marketing campaign is working or not. And if you can't track it, then a lot of this doesn't even really matter at the end of the day. So make sure you're tracking your marketing here. So with that, we've reached the end of the presentation. There's a few minutes here for any questions that you all might have. So while we're letting those come in, if you're typing them now, or if we want to ask any other last minute questions here for me to answer, I do just want to thank everybody again for attending and listening to the presentation here. I'll thank Lizzie and her team again for putting all this together. Hopefully I'll see a lot of you at the September conference. And so Lizzie, I'll pass it back to you now.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Ryan. We do have a couple questions that we'll go ahead and get to. The first one that came through, they asked, if I work with a multi-location brand that already has a few marketing agencies that help my franchisee locations with their local marketing, do I still need a marketing platform like what you discussed?
Sure thing. Yeah, I would say yes. Even if you've got different teams or agencies helping to actually manage the local marketing, you're only going to be able to see the brand-wide reporting and really compare apples to apples between stores if you have all your campaigns linked up in the same system. Again, it's going to be important for that collective intelligence optimization, and it's also going to be important for identifying if we're all measuring conversions the same way and we're all measuring ROI the same way.
Okay, perfect. And then the last question I have is, does Adplorer only integrate with search ads campaigns?
So short answer here is no. I was using a couple of search ads examples, but Adplorer can, as a system, can actually integrate with all of the major advertising platforms. We have integrations for tools like Facebook and Waze and a bunch of other display ad networks, and even tools like Google Analytics, Google My Business, Salesforce, SAP, and tons more. So if you have a question about our integrations, please feel free to send me an email and love to chat about it.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Ryan, and to the whole Adplorer team. I thought these were great questions, and your presentation was wonderful, and wanted to thank you guys for putting this together for Locology today. So you will be able to view today's broadcast along with previous webinars on our website, locology.com. Just navigate to Research and Resources and drop down to Webinars. As Ryan mentioned, Locology is so excited to share that we have our main event, Locology 2021 in-person conference, coming up on September 20th and 21st in Hollywood, California at the Lowe's Hotel. To find out more information, please go to locology.com. Thank you so much for joining us today. Please be sure to visit locology.com and subscribe for updates to be the first to know about future webinars. Have a great day, everyone.